What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Saturday Night Fever live stream. I appreciate you all being here. Chattanooga Ed, my buddy, my pal, my co-host. As always, glad to have you here with me. See lots of awesome people here in the chat tonight. Thank you all for joining us. So we will, as always, be taking your questions. If you'll put at Fish Room Fever on there, it highlights for me, and it makes it stand out. So it's easier for me to get a hold of that and more likely for me to answer it. We're going to be talking about a top 10 list that we just kind of put together for beginners in the aquarium hobby. I know we have a lot of people in here that are not beginners, but I still think that these are great ideas. And also we can, of course, get your opinions from the chat on why you may or may not disagree, as well as some other things that, you know, could be put on a list that might replace some of these things. Let me go through here, make sure I've not missed anything. Doesn't look like I have. Mary Beth, thank you for letting me know about that issue with that link. I will get that fixed. And Amy, sorry I couldn't figure out how to get your chat fixed for you. I have that problem myself, and it's annoying because I always forget how to fix it. So I'm going to start with one that you all probably know I'm going to put on there, anybody that's familiar with me, and that is going to be plecos. Specifically, if you want one pleco, particularly for a beginner, I'm going to say a bristlenose pleco, given that they don't get really big. They can handle a decent variety in parameters, and they're also easy to spawn. You can get baby bristlenose super easy. So it's a great fish for beginners, and also something that can even encourage them to get into breeding fish. Sabrina,
do they get lonely?
I've not really
can you
noticed.
just have one bristlenose?
You can. I've got a couple tanks that just have one. I've not noticed any real differences in the way that they behave if there's just one in there. Excluding they don't fight for territory if there's another male in there and you've got, you know, two males together. And of course, they're not chasing around a female, you know, if there's just one in there. But I've not seen anything that would make me feel like they were having less of a happy life by just having the one in there.
You know, before you get too far into it, I just also wanted to say, you know, you mentioned that most of the people watching aren't beginners, but we're kind of ambassadors to, you know, beginners that come to us all the time. Absolutely. And so that's why I think it's nice to brush up on things like this to kind of help keep us fresh on what, you know, is thinking for beginners to help beginners. Does that make sense? That's what I was thinking when we first started talking about tonight was I just thought we should throw that out so people just don't phase out.
Yeah.
It could actually still be a learning tool or a helping tool. Absolutely.
You know, there are a lot of things that I don't want to say experts because I'm not I don't claim to be an expert by any means. People that have been in the hobby a while, we tend to take things for granted. Even something as simple as, you know, don't scrub everything in your tank, you know, with bleach water. You know, don't kill off your beneficial bacteria, things like that. We can take that stuff for granted and maybe not think to mention those things to a beginner because we just are aware of it and it's kind of common knowledge for us. Sabrina Stewart says, hi guys, we're in Columbus, Ohio, and we went to Rivers to Reefs. You ever been there? Of course, we had to go to a LFS while here. I have not been there. Have you ever been to Rivers to Reefs in Columbus, Ohio?
I've been to Columbus, Ohio a few times,
right,
but I have not been there. I haven't been to Columbus probably in 20 years.
I've never been there, but that's one of those things. If we ever get that way, Ed and I are always looking at local fish stores as we're kind of traveling to places and going through places. We're looking, hey, where can we stop on the way to and fro? Through here, that was answering somebody else's question. Hey, Whips World, what's going on? It says happy Saturday. Fish Room Fever in Chattanooga. Ed, thank you, Zen Ginger, for posting the links and mentioning to type at Fish Room Fever if you have a question. All right, Furloughs, what's going on, buddy? Says, hey, Fish Room Fever. Ed and everybody, good to see you. Somebody mentioned they have several different types of bristlenoses and need more. Yeah, that's another great thing. You can get a variety of bristlenose plecos. It doesn't have to be just your standard chocolate bristlenose. You know, you've of course got albinos and right. And then that's without even getting into long fins. You know, you've got like green dragons and super reds and so many different types. Gotta love it. So another one that I feel would. It's kind of got to go on there. It's one of those things that they're everywhere. They're easy to get a hold of. They're cheap, but there's still a variety of them. You know, it's at least for me, I can go in and find a dozen different types of this fish, and that's a tetra. Tetras are one of those things that they're generally fairly hardy. It's usually pretty easy to tell if they're not hardy when you look at them, and if their bellies are sunken in or they've got ick or whatever. It's typically pretty easy to tell when it's not one you want to purchase. But they're a great fish, I feel, for beginners. And again, the variety is awesome. There are so many different kinds that you can get. I mean, you could do a tank of nothing but different types of tetras and have an amazing looking tank and be, completely happy with that.
Yeah, oh yeah. What's your favorite tetra?
Ooh, this is where I'm supposed to say cardinal tetra, right?
Oh, I don't know. I've got two right now. I mean, it's kind of the flavor of the month because there's so many tetras, and I kind of phase through them over and over.
Absolutely.
The one that I really want is the Congo tetra.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're amazing.
They are beautiful.
And I love black tetras.
Absolutely.
Or black neon tetras. Right.
Got Big Easy's. What's going on? So it ain't easy being Big Easy. Says True Blood tetras or True Blood Heart. I think my favorite is probably going to be the albino. They're not really an albino, but they are. I've got a tetra that we'll just call it an albino. It looks like an albino, and I really love those guys. Living in Orange Von Rio, that is a beautiful tetra. Mike's Aquatics Things. Good to see you too, buddy. Geek Boy says right now my favorites are ruby tetras. Zen Ginger says my favorite tetra is a glowfish. There you go. Well, there is a glow light that is not the glowfish one. And I really like that one. Not that I don't like the glowfish one, but that glow light tetra is another one of my favorites.
Is that the one that has a little orange dot over its eye?
I think it does. I think
they have lots of those in Nashville. The Fish and Critters or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. What's going on, Edgar Reyes? Fin Aquarium says, is there a way to reduce fin nipping between my black skirt tetras, or do I need to separate them? There is. I'm curious to know how many you've got, Fin Aquariums. If you'll put that in there and let me know. Generally speaking, I find that it may not necessarily reduce fin nipping, but it definitely helps to kind of spread aggression, and that's to add some more. So if you've got 2 or 3 or 4, you might want to try 6 or 8, and that's going to kind of help spread the aggression out and help them from targeting one particular one. Not that they aren't going to be nippy. I've found them to be fairly nippy in my experience. It kind of depends on the fish. They can have different natures, but I see that Zen Ginger said, don't lie. Technically, James's favorite tetras are his piranhas. Yeah, absolutely. There you go.
Good point.
Technically speaking, yes. Rummy nose tetra, that's another awesome one, Gina Fish. I absolutely love the rummy nose. I'm going to take back my previous statements and say if I had to go with one, it'd be the rummy nose, because a nice big school of rummy nose tetra, you can't beat that.
They are neat. They always, I don't know why, but I just always see World War II airplanes when I look at them. I love them.
I can definitely understand that. Whips World says Serpe tetras are my go-tos. Another beautiful fish. Definitely. Love Cardinal, says Leah Jet. Brienne also says rummy nose are my favorite. And Furlow says love some Congos and some Emperors. Emperors are another one. 5 black skirts and you're having fin nipping issues. 5.
One more.
Right.
In the 80s, it was like this rule. They called it the rule of 6.
Right.
And it's a huge thing in the 80s. It's kind of died off. But it used to be a school had to be 6 or more to get rid of aggression. And I mean, maybe it's also just a way to sell more fish, Oh, baby cat's licking my finger. But I don't know. Now she wants to eat my finger. But I've just always gone with the rule of 6 my whole life, and it's always seemed to work. 6 or more. Right.
So you do have the option, as you mentioned before, of separating them if you would like to do that, of course. It's kind of either you do the separation or you add some more fish in there. The only other thing would be if you added more plants. More plants, more hiding places that can help with fin nipping. But either split them up like you mentioned. If you don't have a lot of plants and hiding places, you can add some more plants. Or you could add maybe 3 more black skirts. If you don't want to do that, you could maybe try putting in some other fish that are faster than the black skirts to kind of draw their attention and get them to stop nipping at each other, possibly. But I generally try not to. It sounds weird because I do, but I don't. It's not that I don't agree with ditherfish. I usually use ditherfish in terms of trying to get shy fish to come out and not to get rid of aggression. But you could try a different type of fish in there to see if maybe a faster fish draws their attention but doesn't get beat up. Furloughs Aquatics asking if either of us have kept marble hatchet fish and what were our experiences with them. So that is a fish that absolutely hates me. I have a lot of luck with a lot of fish. For whatever reason, I have horrible luck with the marble hatchets. I have bought them from 4 or 5 different sources and have yet to have any that stayed alive. They're beautiful fish and I love them. And one day I will have some marble hatchets and they will survive. But I've had horrible luck, so I can't really speak much to their behaviors or long-term information, given that they don't last very long for me, unfortunately.
And I've never had them.
Let's see. Brian Farrell says, does dwarf hairgrass need ferts? So generally speaking, any plant can benefit from fertilizers. So it goes back to the general, do I need ferts in my tank? If you already have enough fish waste or bioload or things of that nature, to where adding ferts is just going to give you an overabundance of nutrients and cause additional algae problems, then no, you don't want to add fertilizers. If you can put fertilizers in there, and this is generally the case, if you've got a tank and you can add ferts and the plants grow better, but you don't get algae problems, that's usually how it works for the most part. Then I would say go for it. You've got, of course, like the Easy Root Tabs, and these are Aquarium Co-op products. There are other products, of course, available. But like the Easy Root Tabs, which are actually a capsule now, and then Easy Green are both fertilizers that I use and recommend. I would encourage you to give those a try. Furloughs Aquatic says, angels hate me for some reason, can never keep them alive. Segueing from that, angelfish is one of my top 10s for beginners. They're typically a fairly hardy fish. Now, they can have some aggressive tendencies or aggression issues. They've got a lot of different varieties of angelfish. It's something that you can kind of put into a tank as a centerpiece fish. They get some good size to them. I just think they're a beautiful fish. Typically fairly hardy, fairly easy to come by. So it's not a specialty fish that you're having to order online. We're thinking in general things you can find in a local fish store, assuming that you have one.
I have to agree. I love angelfish. They're beautiful fish. They're not fast, they can be, but they're not going to be a lot of action. They're pretty chill, but they like to. I've got my angelfish tank in my kitchen, so whenever I'm walking around the kitchen, they follow me from one side of the tank to the other. And they know when I open the freezer because that's where their bloodworms are. And as soon as they're all just waiting for the bloodworms. So, yeah, I like them. They're kind of a smart fish.
Absolutely. So Emily Stevens has a good question here. She says, serious question. Would you buy a fish from a fish store if you see a dead body in there and the fish you want are active? Mostly big box stores. So regardless of where you go, big box stores, local fish stores, dead fish happen. That's just a fact of life. Fish stores try, and some more than others, good fish stores try to ensure that as soon as one's spotted, it gets pulled out of the tank. I've yet to find a fish store that never had fish die in the tanks. And, you've got to figure you've got things coming in from wholesale. A lot of times things come in sick. I would say even Aquarium Co-op is not immune to, having fish die off in their store. It's going to happen. So if I'm looking and I see a dead body, one dead fish, because that's what I'm interpreting that as, one dead fish, and the other fish that you want are active, I'm going to look at a couple things. Are they in the same tank? Because, you've got depending upon where you go, you might have a system that has 6 or 9 tanks that are all in the same system. And then the next set of tanks is in a different water system. So are they in the same tank or system? If they're not, I'm not really going to put much thought into it. I'm going to look at the fish still because I always examine my fish before I buy them. But it's not really going to worry me. If they're in the same tank, I'm definitely going to be peeping looking really, really closely at that dead fish to see if I can figure out what happened. Maybe it was just an aggression issue. Maybe the other fish beat it up. That's not something that I'm going to have to worry about when I take the fish home in terms of them getting sick from that. If I'm looking at it and it's covered in ick, I'm probably going to second guess that. And if I can see ick, I'm not going to get the fish, even if they appear active. If it maybe just emaciated, maybe it's just got a sunken in belly and it looks like it's starved. It's not going to prevent me from getting the other fish. So it's kind of a case-by-case basis. I will say I have gone both ways with that. I've been in a store and I've seen a tank with dead fish and known that the fish I wanted were in the same system and went, it's not going to have any effect on what I'm getting. I've also been in stores and I've gone, ooh, these 2 tanks are full of ick and they're on the same system as these other 6 tanks or 7 tanks, whatever. So I'm not going to get this fish because it's in the same system that is having the ick issue. So there's a lot of variance. I'm sorry I can't give you a clear cut yes or no, but there are a lot of things to take into consideration. So next time you're having second thoughts about whether or not to get the fish, just kind of look at some of those things and go, well, what's applicable to my situation? Is it a thickness issue? Is it that guy just kind of, got starved out? Is there any visible reason that I know I should not get the fish that I want?
Yeah, I mean, like I've got 60 tanks that are filled with guppies. And I think if I would have just 5 dead guppies in a week, that'd be a good week.
Right.
And I mean, I consider all my guppies pretty healthy. It's just, the time comes up on some guys. So, things happen. And I mean, in a fish store, there's so much more stress levels because they just came in. Kids might be hitting the glass, everything, Just, yeah.
So, yeah, I know, and I agree completely. So kind of think in terms of how happy would my fish be if I was putting them in a new tank every, couple days or once a week I was moving them. And then I had tons of foot traffic and people, and then I was swirling a net around in there, maybe once a day to 5 times a day. Fish are going to get stressed from that. I feel like, and it may have even been something Aquarium Co-op mentioned, Corey, but I feel like I've seen somewhere that fish retain the stress of being caught in a net for like 24 to 36 hours.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, I know it was something that I'm like, oh, well, hey, okay, that's interesting. So if you're netting them over and over again, or you're getting the net in there and getting other fish out of the same tank, that stress is going to build on them and stick with them for a little bit. So Marset Gaming says, okay, one of my favorite YouTubers put 2 flower horns separated in a 100 gallon. They need 75 each. What should I do? If you feel the need to leave a comment regarding that, I would do it in the most positive way possible. So I'm not somebody that believes in trashing people. I believe we all have different ways we can do things. We may or may not agree on things, but if it bothers you to the extent, which I'm assuming it does, that you're asking me what you should do about it, I definitely wouldn't go in there and go, you're an idiot, you can't do that. All that's going to do is probably get the comment blocked before they even see it. And even if they do see it, they're probably just going to be like, forget you, I don't need to hear your crap. So again, if you're wanting to genuinely show concern, I would go in there and go, those are cool fish, but in my experience, or from my understanding, you really need 75 gallons each for those fish. Something like that. Something that's not going to instantly trigger them to just avoid your comment and disregard anything you have to say. That would be the way I would approach it if you feel the need to do so. Brent for us says, one is in a planted 35 gallon with 1 discus. The other section of the hair grass went in a 5 gallon tank with 1 female betta.
I think we're missing some stuff.
That was going back to the fertilizers for that grass, the hair grass. With that bioload being as low as it is, if you want to get some additional growth out of it, I'd go ahead and get some fertilizer on it, honestly. Roll down through here. Furlough Aquatic says, do you have any experience with saltwater skunk cleaner shrimp and caring for the babies? So I have had them before, well over a decade ago. Never had experience with babies, though. That is awesome. I don't have anything I can help you with there other than say congratulations, man. That's super cool that you got babies. Ed, any experience with those guys?
No, just shrimp are normally pretty good at, taking care of themselves once they're freed up. I mean, shrimplets, I think in just about all the crustaceans just take care of themselves. They don't have, I don't know if you have to do much more than make sure your tank is not super clean.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure they've got some grazing surfaces would be the big thing. If you can add additional grazing surfaces in there that already have some stuff growing on them, some really nice live rock perhaps. And by nice, I don't mean it has to look really pretty or aesthetically pleasing, simply that it's got a lot of growth on it that they can kind of pick at. That would probably be the only thing that I could give you that I know would be beneficial. All Things Fish says, hey, James and Ed, what's going on? All Things Fish, good to see you. Glad to have you here. Roll on down through here. Geek Boy, and this was back to the dead fish in the pet store, says, if it looks like the dead fish has been in there for more than a day, I walk away from the tanks. I don't blame you for that. Oh. Absolutely. If it looks like they're rotting in there. And so, yeah, I classify that completely different. Seeing a dead fish versus seeing a rotting fish. If I see rotting fish in there, then I know maintenance isn't being done. You're not even doing the walk of death in your store. So that's one of those. If the fish is rotting, I'm probably not going to mess with it because I know that upkeep, at least at that particular time, is probably not the greatest. There could be exceptions to that. Maybe it's in a heavily planted, not display tank, but a tank that houses plants, and it died off in the plants, and then the water got stirred up and it got swept out of there. That could be one of the few and far betweens. But generally speaking, yeah, if I see just rotting fish in a tank, I'm not going to purchase there. Emily did say, yes, one dead fish, but in the same tank. This has been the scenario multiple times. So this, again, you mentioned it being a box store. They're going to get a lot of shipments of fish in, and they don't really have the option of going, oh, the fish in this bag don't look great, we're going to send them back. At least to the best of my knowledge, the box stores don't have that option. It's kind of like you get what you get and you deal with it. So I can understand going there multiple times and seeing a dead fish. And that's maybe even something that I might ask them about / mention. But hey, do you guys, I've noticed that every time I'm in here, you've got dead fish. I understand fish die. But how often do you pull them out, or do you know what the problem is? And they're probably going to go, well, I don't know. I just work here. But, it is what it is.
Yep.
Roll through here. Rick Tomschick says, howdy, guys. Love your streams. Do you have a thought on adding almost grown up electric blue acara to a tank, 55-gallon with an angelfish pair plus some larger tetras?
Sean Peck did that.
Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't. Again, that goes to any fish. There's potential for things to go wrong. Every fish has got its own personality. I don't see why you couldn't give it a go. Anytime I'm going to try something new, if you will, or new to me, I kind of keep a close eye on things. So I would say give it a try. I don't see why not. Just kind of monitor them, check on things when you do your whenever you do your feedings. Make sure everybody's doing okay. See if you're seeing any new signs of aggression or fin nipping issues, anything like that, any stressed fish. But I say go for it. And thank you. We love to have you here. I appreciate the compliment. Let me roll on down through here, get back up. I see Aquatic Marine, a big bubble at the top there, and I will get to that. Kenny, it's good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. I need to swing by there. I need to get some prime and some other things. And just say hi to you.
Yeah, I was terrible to him. Last week, I said I was going to try to stop by when I went to Knoxville for the Scottish eggs, and we got in too late in town. But he even said, Ed, don't tease me. And I did. And then today we went to Knoxville, but we had to head back before we could stop, just because we had too much fun. We actually drove through Knoxville. We went up to Pigeon Forge and back.
Very, very nice. That is awesome. Okay, get my chat to work here for me. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Zebra Danny O's. Good evening. I hate stupid people. Good to see you. Rolling back up, and I'll scroll back down. There was Furlough's question. There was the other question. So now I'm good to go and roll through here. Thanks, Zen, again for mentioning the Fisher and Fever on there. Joseph Voss says, I have a Zebra Daniel that is skinny and is always swimming around with his mouth open. Any idea what this could be? Have you ever seen / heard of something like this before?
Dislocated jaw.
Yes. And that's probably why it's skinny, is there's an issue with his mouth and being able to eat properly. And so it's, causing him to become emaciated, get skinny. So most likely, if I had to guess, going 100% with what Ed just said, and that's a dislocated jaw. I've seen it happen before with some different cichlids. Sometimes it can be helped or fixed. Usually that's in larger fish. A lot of times it just is what it is. About the only thing you can really do is try and get some extra food in there that's small enough that he doesn't have to chew it up. Or he can just kind of swim through it with his jaw open and be able to get it in there. That's probably going to be my best suggestion for that.
Yeah,
you could try to target feed. So you could take, I don't have one next to me, one of the pipettes, and maybe take whatever you're feeding. So if you feed flakes, take some flakes and crush them up pretty fine, and then swirl them in with some water. So you've got a liquidy flake food, and then take that pipette and kind of try and target feed near him so he can swim through it and get some, and other fish aren't taking all the food away from him. Hey, Mary Page Flynn, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Let's roll and scroll right on down here.
You've got a couple of super chats that you might want to hit.
I see that. I am almost there. I just hate to jump over a question to get to them. Let's see. Sergey Sieber says, speaking of saltwater, I'm thinking about trying it out in a 10-gallon just to see how it goes. Still researching into it. Any saltwater beginner tips? So I have nothing against nano tanks in saltwater, but I will say that in saltwater, it really, really, really plays to heart that it's a lot easier to maintain a larger water volume than a smaller water volume. Now, if you're just doing a fowler or fish only with live rock, you're not having to deal with a lot of parameters for corals and things. Not really too hard to keep it in tune in terms of just your salinity and that type of stuff. If you're going to be fighting with all the different things that your corals need and different additives, you could definitely do a 10-gallon. There are plenty of people that do 10-gallon nano reefs, and they're beautiful tanks. Just be aware going into it as a beginner, if you're going to be dosing a lot of things, of course, 10 gallons, there's a lot less give in that than there is if you're dealing with even a 20-gallon system. There's more room for error, if you will. Roll on down here. TN Aqua says, hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well, TN. Glad to see you. What's going on, Lumpy Dog? Says, looking for guppies, antlers, plecas, etc. at good price. And he posted the link for the Fisher and Fever website. I just saw the highlight. I appreciate that, Lumpy Dog. I will soon. Yeah. Not too terribly long from now. I'll be re-adding livestock. Oh, wow. Aquatic Marine Kenny. Buddy, I just saw how much that was for. I appreciate that. $50 super sticker. This guy. I can't thank you enough, Kenny. You're awesome. And
you got poppers?
The pair, I do. I've got poppers. It's the pair.
I might have one that works. This is my last one.
That's your last one?
It's a white popper.
All right.
Versus your black poppers.
Ready?
You can't stand on them too long.
Right.
Seriously.
Absolutely.
They laid on this thing, like this bag of poppers, for like 3 years. Oh, well.
But seriously, Kenny at Aquatic Marine. And for anybody that doesn't know that's new, because I've seen some new names tonight, and I appreciate that. Aquatic Marine's my local fish store here in Knoxville, Tennessee. I love those guys. I've done several tours there, as well as some other live streams from Aquatic Marine, and even did a Halloween special there. So go check those things out. Swing by there if you're in East Tennessee and see them. And they even have aquaticmarine.net, I believe. Kenny, correct me if I'm wrong, where they're doing some online sales now. So I will get that link and get it posted as well. But I appreciate you, Kenny. I need to come see you. I almost came and saw you earlier. Rolling up here. Let me grab this other one. Well, we got quite a few. All right, let me get caught up here real quick. We have got an Aquatic Marine said, just wanted to splash in and make some waves. There we go. I appreciate the wave making, Kenny, very much so. Sean Chadwick with the $3 super sticker with the thumbs up pair. Give you another thumbs up. I appreciate you, Sean. Very awesome of you to do that. And I do thank you very much, my friend. That one scared me a little bit. Ooh. Brian Farrell says, who was the person that asked about the 100-gallon flower horn tank? Can't find them. I don't remember, honestly. Something Aquariums. I'll see if I can go back here in a second. Furloughs Aquatics dropping a $5 super chat with 5 piles of fertilizer. And it says, time for some expensive fertilizer. LOL. Much love, you. Y'all and the whole fish fam. Much love to you, Eric. Furloughs Aquatics. Very much appreciated. It's always good to see you. I love just having you here hanging out. I can't thank you enough for the support, my friend. Mr. Fish Sir Brad is throwing that pile of fertilizer on there with the $1 super sticker. Thank you for that, Mr. Fish Sir. We're keeping the plants fed in the chat tonight. Much appreciated. That's a good batch of party poppers. Pegasus Arena says, I'm late, but I'm here. What did I miss? Hit the replay.
There you go.
Also, 2 new baby guppies today. Congratulations on that.
That's awesome.
I feel like there was one that I missed. I feel like there was
a fertilizer one.
Yeah, and I am going to go back. Mike's Aquatic Things is doing the $3 fist bump. What's going on, Mike? Boom. Fist bump to you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. I haven't left any comments, but I've been enjoying what you got going on over there, Mike. Hey, I'll check the other screen and go back to that. I know I've missed something. I know I have. Whomever I've missed, I'm sorry. I will find you. I promise you. Let's jump into this. And I should have segued over before when we were talking about them. But back to the top 10 fish that I'm going to recommend for beginners. Danios. Danios is on the list. And this is one that Ed recommended. So, Ed, why do you recommend Danios for beginners?
I like Danios. They're affordable. They're a lot of fun. They were kind of like, my dad did guppies and cories. That's what he sold to the fish stores. And then I got Danios because I just thought they were awesome. I was just a kid and I was able to keep them alive as a little kid. So I've always felt like they were bulletproof. And maybe I was just really lucky. I don't know. But they're constant motion. I really like Danios. They're one of my favorites.
Absolutely. They are very, very cool fish. Sarah J. Seaver says, no corals in this one, just shrimp or snails, and maybe one fish. Once I get familiar, I would upgrade. Yeah, absolutely. Saltwater is not nearly as hard to get into as a lot of people talk about. I like to compare it to a planted tank, and this is getting into the corals. This is not even just the fish only like you're doing. Very simple. Just make sure you get your salinity right. Salinity, temperature should be good to go. But like even when you get into corals, I think of it a lot like a planted tank in freshwater. You have different levels for hobbyists. Some people get into the really, really high-tech CO2 planted tanks. Other people are like myself. It's just I'm going to throw a light on there and squirt some fertilizers in and very low maintenance, easy upkeep. Multi-tank addiction, my brother from another mother says, what's up, my brothers from other mothers? There you go. Good to see you, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Had fun hanging out on your stream the other day. There's the fist bump right there. Oh, there we go. It just jumped on me. Oh, there it is. Branford was saying, how do I propagate an Amazon sword? I've never propagated them. I've got some. It's not one that I've ever propagated. I've only got a couple. There are a lot of other things that I've propagated, but it's not one that I've ever gotten to that point on, honestly. Ed?
I don't know. They just get big. I'm trying to see. I don't see anything popping off of them. I've got, some in that tank. I've got some in out there. I don't know if I've ever made more from them. They've just gotten really big.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, that's generally been my experience with them. I will say this. I've had swords that went south quickly. and I've completely cut everything down to the root system and replanted it, and it grew back just fine. So I would think, in theory, you could probably split that root system in half and be able to propagate it that way. Not 100%, but just given my experience with the root systems and having the regrowth from that, that might work for you. Tammy Johnson says, got to meet Fission Tank. I think that's Fission Tactics. At the shop. He was down here in Chattanooga and stopped by in the store. Said to tell you, James and Bob, hey. So, hey. Thank you, Tommy. Or Tammy Johnson. Blah. I was trying to read Aquatic Aesthetics and Tammy and Johnson and all that. And got it.
Yeah. Tammy's Rob's wife at Aquatic Aesthetics.
That is Ed's local fish store near Chattanooga, Tennessee. If you're in the area, stop on by, say hi to him. Brian Farrell says, Danios are bulletproof. KG Tropicals in parentheses. Absolutely. Ginger says, Fisherman Fever, do you have a new membership sticker spot yet? I do need a fancy popper streamer emoji. I can check on that real quick and we can see. I know we're getting close. I feel like the next one unlocked within a couple. Let's take a look and see. Let's see. Roll through here. Kira Corridorable, I still love that name, says, would Danios be okay for summer tubs? Ed?
I don't see why not. I don't know. I've never bred them, so I don't know how that would work. Was it Tiffany White that had Danios in her summer tub? One of hers? Yeah, we'll have to ask Tiffany next time she's on and find out if they made more, because part of a lot of people like summer tubbing just because they like to have a lot of fish in there and to watch them, and Danios would be all over the top. But I'd probably go with a fish that has a metallic top if you're going for something like that, so you can see them at the top, because that's a lot of fun to see them racing around. Otherwise, I'd go with a fish that I know is going to multiply. So you kind of have those two things weighing in. It's like, you want it to look good from above or multiply, or both, that's
Absolutely.
Even better.
So Zen, to answer your question, we are 9 away from our next unlock. We unlock another one at 75 members. And I will definitely get you and I think everybody would have fun with that. The party poppers or streamers and emoji for the members. I think that's a good one. I like that idea. Thank you for that, Zen Ginger. I hope you're doing well. I hope Mr. Zen's doing well. Sorry I hadn't gotten back to you. I've been working on it, but I hope everything's going well there. All Things Fish says there are always top 3, 5, 10 lists for fish for beginners. What are a couple types of fish that you would suggest beginners avoid? I like that, and I almost thought of doing that tonight, but Ed and I did one similar not long ago about fish that we would never buy again or fish that we had problems with. And that's why I didn't. So I'm going to give you. Go ahead, buddy.
Sorry. No, if we have time, we're going to mention a couple that people think are great for beginners that we're going to say why we don't think they are, but we're going to try to get through the list first, the main list.
Absolutely. So we can do that. And we need to knock another one out because we've only got 20 minutes left, and then Jeffro should be coming on at 9 o'clock Eastern time. So this is one that we couldn't leave off the list, and that is guppies. And Ed, you want to tell people why the guppies are a good beginner fish?
Because guppies are the best fish there is.
Absolutely.
Hands down. There you go.
No, they really are. They're an awesome little fish. They're typically fairly hardy. There's a lot of varieties in colors and whatnot. And they make lots of little babies really easily. It's, again, another one of those that people get into the hobby and they get this fish, and now they have all these little baby fish. And a lot of times that can even help get your significant other into the hobby. Maybe you've got a tank and it's making babies and she's not really into tanks, or he's not really into tanks. And they go, I don't really want any more fish tanks in the house. And then they're like, the little babies are getting eaten. You go, well, I don't have another tank. I've seen that happen before. So there's a tip on the side for some of you all.
Yeah. Guppies are like dogs. You know how there's like a bajillion different types of dogs, but they're all dogs? There's like a bajillion different types of guppies, but they're all guppies.
Gotcha.
And they also eat mosquitoes. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
I love bats because they eat mosquitoes.
So Pew Fish Zone, good point here, says Fisherman Fever swords do runners. So that's real easy. If you're getting runners, which I've never had runners off of mine, but if you're getting runners, I think my camera just went out. I'm covering myself with the chat, but Yep, we're back on this camera. We're going to switch cameras. There we go. Yeah, so anything that does runners is super easy to propagate. You just take a Val, a prime example. It'll do a runner and it'll pop up another one. So you just separate them from that runner, transplant it. There you go. I hate stupid people with the $2 super sticker with the big heart on there. Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate you. Always a pleasure having you around, with or without the super stickers, of course. But thank you for that.
I'm wearing my awesome I Hate Stupid People shirt.
Absolutely. All right, so let's burn through a couple of these so we can get this knocked out, because I do want to get back to some of the things we might avoid / not recommend. I'm going to just do the next two together, and that's going to be mollies and platies. And that even kind of goes lumped in with guppies, kind of. They're hardy fish. They're easy to find. You can get babies out of them pretty easy. They're just a good fish.
There are swordtails in there too.
Yeah, swordtails as well. Absolutely.
The one thing I would stay away from, or well, I don't want to say stay away from, but platies are vicious towards their babies. Platies go after fry like crazy. I mean, everything eats their fry, but they just look like raptors going after their fry. Just throwing that out there from what I've noticed over the years.
Absolutely.
And swordtails are slow. They take a while.
Thank you, Zen, for dropping the links there. Whips World says, for a side list, give me your top 5 Central American species for a community tank, with Serpe being an honorable mention at the very least. I'm going to write that down as something that we can talk about another time, because I already know 17 minutes left. We're not going to get into it, and I've run over Jeff Rose enough times that I don't want to do that. I felt bad. I didn't know he was going at 9 o'clock at one point. But I'm going to write that down so that we can do a nice proper list versus leaning something together in 45 seconds and not getting to really talk about it. Brian Farrell says, I'm looking for some Neocaridina. Any advice? Also looking for some guppies. Just only has 2 breeds right now. In terms of people that are shipping, lrbaquatics.com. Go check out LRB. You want to talk guppies, endlers, and Neocaridinas they're just amazing fish and shrimp. Go check out LRB. Can't give you a better recommendation than that.
If you don't, or for a secondary one, you have Priscilla.
There you go. Yeah, and she's not shipping any right now.
Oh,
but
once
she starts shipping, Priscilla Swiss Aquatics, highly recommend her as well. And several other people. Zen says Jeffrey isn't scheduled yet. I know the past couple, at one point he was having issues getting it scheduled, and he was just popping live when it was time. But I appreciate you letting me know, and I will try and keep an eye out to see if he does schedule. But we are going to stop at 9 just because I know he's been starting at 9 even when he isn't scheduled.
Rob at Flips Aquatics is also pretty good.
Yeah, Rob's an awesome guy.
He's amazing and super nice guy. Gave me a free T-shirt.
I haven't done business with Rob or interacted with Rob, and so he kind of slips my mind. But Flip Aquatics is awesome. I love what he's got going on. Love his channel. I just haven't actually gotten to do business with the guy and talk to him.
Terribly nice guy. I like at conventions and stuff. He's the unsung hero. He's the guy who sets up the booth for the YouTubers to sit down. I mean, he does so much work behind the scenes at different conventions for the YouTubers. It's amazing. And he doesn't get any credit for that. And Rob's it's just a super nice guy. He'll answer any question. Just super nice.
Whips World saying, fair enough, didn't realize there was a timeline. Absolutely, Whips World. Ed and I will get together and we'll make a list. A lot of times we'll kind of make our own list so we can each do a top 5 type thing and get them together. But I think that'd be we could do a whole stream on just that. So thanks for the suggestion, and I look forward to getting some good answers to that.
Well, one that we were going to take off the list that a lot of people say is Rams is a great beginner one, and we took that off the list.
We did.
Just because it's a little harder. I don't think it's a beginner fish.
You get more temperature requirements, and then can be aggression issues. I'm not going to say they're wrong to put it on the list, but it's just not on my list. So here's one that's a little different than what you see on a lot of top 10 lists, and that is going to be white clouds. I think white clouds are a good, hardy, awesome beginner fish. There's something that's a little different, maybe not as easily available as your tetras, but still an awesome beginner fish.
Yeah, and they can handle a wide range of temperatures. they're egg fish that actually you can produce, with ease, pretty much. They do their own thing. They aren't talked up much. They just don't get the respect they deserve, I don't think.
Absolutely. Rico Stan, my buddy, how's it going? With a $10 super chat, says, got pea puffer. Words are hard, but we're almost through it. Got pea puffers coming from Aquahuna this Wednesday. So excited. Congratulations, Rico. That is awesome.
Super cool. What's ice tank?
Yeah, that's a good question. First off, thank you for the super chat, Rico Stan. Congratulations on the pea puffers. One day I will have some puffers. But I'm actually looking at doing a little bit of downsizing. And we'll talk about that more on another stream. We'll hook you in there. Awesome fish, though. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. I had a blast talking to you on Ed's channel. For anybody that missed that, Chattanooga Ed was filling in for Lefty, who does a Friday variety show. And I got to be a part of it. I was the tech guy, but I kind of hung out there anyways with my camera off and talked to him. That was a really fun show that wasn't necessarily fish related. A lot of people enjoyed it and didn't even realize that it was going on or that we did stuff where we didn't talk about fish. So go over to Ed's channel when you get a chance and check that out. It was a real blast, and I think you'll enjoy that. GRB says 111 watching and 66 likes. Please consider hitting the like button. I would appreciate it. And tell you what, if you haven't hit the subscribe button and you're hanging out with us, consider doing that. Very much appreciated. If you've gotten any type of value, whether it be entertainment or information, or maybe a little bit of both. And thank you all for being here, 111 people. That is awesome of you.
And we've got cats.
We've got cats, absolutely. That should easily be 400 likes for Ed's cats because they're super cool.
Bang.
Saw somebody saying they were stopping by and it jumped on me. I appreciate you swinging by to hit the thumbs up and checking out the replay Monday. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you very much. Lurking and working says Fish Dreams. Tim Carter with the $2 big red thumbs up super sticker. What's going on, Tim? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That one didn't want to come out of there. That one was kind of forced in there a little bit, but I appreciate that, Tim. I do. Hope everything's doing well on your end. It's always great to see you. I hate super people. Says Jeff Rose is up already. So there you go. We've got about 10 minutes before we're going to wrap this. Got 2 left on here. We're going to save the quote-unquote best for last. Some people would look at it. But this one is one of my absolute favorites, and that's Corridoras. However, I want to say if you're going to do Corridoras, get you 6 of them. At least get 3, but it's really preferable if you just get you a nice group of 6. They're going to be much happier. You're going to enjoy them more. And that's another one. Go ahead, Ed. I'll let you go. That's how you start to talk.
No, I wasn't. I was just totally agreeing.
Oh, gotcha.
6 or more, so much fun. Watching them all follow each other. Like little fireworks going up and down. And yeah, I love Corys.
Yeah.
I've loved them my whole life.
They're a fairly hardy fish. You've got some that you can get for different temperature ranges depending upon what you're doing. There's a very widespread variety of them. They're not super expensive, and they're just awesome little guys. So yeah, Gina French, I'm with you. 6 or more, a minimum of 3. And just a personal ask for me, if you're in the store and you're getting 6 and there's a 7th one left in the tank, grab that 7th one. Don't leave that poor little guy by himself, if you can, Christine Gauthier with the $1 pile of fertilizer. Thank you, Christine. I hope you're having a great night tonight. There we go. I'm glad I got the party poppers back. I've missed doing that the past couple of weeks.
My whole life, I've been blessed with parents that have always just gotten along, and they've been wonderful. Never heard any yelling. The only time I think my mom yelled at my dad was over a Corridora. It's so bizarre. But somehow my dad was taking care of the fish down in the basement, and a Corridora jumped out and landed on the floor. He stepped on it, got it stuck to the bottom of his shoe, and walked it up on her brand new carpet. And she was so infuriated that there was a dead catfish on her floor. My dad's just trying not to, just taking it like a man. He's like, yes, dear. Yes, dear. But my sister and I just thought it was hilarious. It was great.
So last but not least, we would get yelled at if this one was not on the list. Bettas, and love them or hate them, and we can go back and forth on that. And I'm not saying that there aren't issues with people buying them in cups and keeping them in cups. That's a whole nother can of worms I don't want to open right now. But you can't deny that bettas are an awesome beginner fish. They're a fish that get a lot of people into the hobby. They've got so many amazing colors and variations and different types of finnage. Pretty easy to take care of. Obviously, they can handle a lot worse conditions than what they should be in. Recommend that you actually set them up a tank and give them a legitimate home. But they're able to tolerate a lot. And that's what I think, one of the many reasons I think they're a great beginner fish.
And you can just have one.
Yeah.
One fish. Like we were just saying with Corey's, you want a little school. But yeah, I mean, you just can't, it works so well. I mean, only thing would be maybe shrimp if you're going to set up a tank at work or something,
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree with you more. Tim Carter saying, "Well, those little cats work in a sandcap tank." Absolutely. In reference to Cory cats.
Oh, I
love it. Absolutely love it. A lot of people would actually argue that you need to have them in sand. Again, another debate we're not going to get into. We've discussed it before. But yeah, I definitely would enjoy that very, very much. A lot of people talking about how much they love bettas. Bettas are amazing. Bettas are awesome. Love my bettas. Have a few different wild type of bettas. Bettas are just one of those things that they're a really, really cool fish. So that's my top 10. Just to go through them again real quick. We've got tetras, guppies, angelfish, danios, plecos, mollies, platies, bettas, corridoras, and white clouds. A couple things that are a little different. A lot of those kind of fit in with your status quo, if you will, but that's because they're good recommendations. A couple minutes left. So I'm going to name off 3 in terms of fish I don't recommend for beginners. One of these is actually on a lot of lists for recommended beginner fish, and that one is goldfish. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying I don't personally recommend it because a lot of times it says common goldfish. A lot of people don't understand how big a common goldfish gets, how much waste they produce, the fact that it's a cooler water fish than your tropical fish. So it's just not one that I personally recommend.
They eat everything.
Yeah, and they eat everything. You may not realize they're going to eat all through your plants and all that stuff. So good night, Brian. Hope you have a great night. Appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll see you on the next go round. But that's just one of those. I'm not going to say it's bad to recommend that for beginner because I don't think it is. It's just not one that I personally would recommend, and those are my reasons.
And when James says these are ones that he's not recommending for beginners, it's not because it's not like a pacu that's going to get gigantic. Right. They're ones that's common for beginners to get. Yeah,
absolutely. You see that a lot. And the same could technically be said for bettas in terms of a lot of people get them. They don't understand what they really need, and they get mistreated. I hate to use that term and offend anybody, but you get where I'm going with it. So yeah, that's why I've got that on the list, especially because common goldfish is typically the one that's recommended. Yeah, they're really hardy. Yeah, they could put up with a lot. Doesn't mean that they should.
That's it. I have 5.
Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. We only got a couple minutes left. I want to hear your list.
I have 5 common.
Oh gosh, 5 common goldfish. I thought you said you had. I thought you meant you had 5 fish that you were going to name off for us. Timmy Johnson says fisherman favorite, and sadly, too many fairs and events give them away to kids. We have refused to sell bettas to people. Absolutely, and I respect that very much. If you know a fish is going to a bad home and you choose not to send it there, I can't give you enough respect for that.
I don't think live critters should ever be given away as prizes anywhere. I mean, to kids, like right. If it's maybe some, I don't know, if you're going to some horse show and you're trying to win a horse or something, but I don't know. That was probably crazy, but I just not as a war prize.
Absolutely. This is one that people are probably going to be mad at me about. John at KG, if you happen to be lurking or you listen to this replay and sometimes you're around, I'm sorry, but I don't generally recommend Oscars for beginners. They're amazing fish, and I would recommend you get an Oscar if you're interested in Oscars. If you're not familiar with fish and fish keeping, I'm probably not going to recommend you go get an Oscar. A lot of people don't realize how big they get. A lot of times you see them in stores and it's this fish this size for $10. You go, oh, that's so cute. Let me get 3 of those. And and that tends to be a problem. Again, it often goes back to you're a beginner. You're probably not going to get a really big tank when you're first starting out. Some people do. Generally speaking, I find most people start with smaller tanks. So maybe you've got a 10, 20, even a 40 breeder, and you get this cute little Oscar. Again, usually it's more than one because it's like, oh, hey, they're $8.99 or $9.99 or whatever, and they're cute and they're this big and they've got pretty colors. So it's just not one that I recommend for beginners that don't understand what they're getting into.
I've never had an Oscar.
I love them. They're great fish. They get big. They can be aggressive. They're amazing fish. Love them. I'm just not going to tell you to, hey, go get an Oscar as your first fish without thoroughly educating you on what you need to do to properly set that up.
Now, can you have just a single Oscar, or will it get lonely?
You can. Some of them actually do better by themselves. A lot of times they enjoy company, but I have seen some, especially if they're accustomed to being by themselves and they're maybe an adult that somebody's had by itself for, a couple years, and then you try and put it with other fish, they may start moping. For instance, Jeff Rose is live. Awesome. So he's going to be going tonight. We've got a couple more minutes till we finish our time slot, and then we'll send y'all over to there. Ed, do you want to wrap it up with a third fish that you wouldn't recommend for a beginner?
Well, was that the ram that we talked about briefly?
We could do the ram. Yeah, the Rams was on. It's on a couple lists. Again, not saying they're wrong, but go ahead.
I mean, you got the Rams, but you know what? How about we go with just a standard African cichlid? Africans.
I don't disagree with you there. I love the fish. I know a lot of people get into the hobby because of that fish. If you don't understand the aggression issues and how to properly do it, and the fact that you might need to move things around in order to calm aggression issues, or you go and you get 4 and then you want to add some more, so you just dump it in there and then all the rest of them beat up on it. It's one of those that, again, it requires some specialty knowledge, and I think it's easy to see it and go, that's the prettiest freshwater fish in here. I need to get those.
Mm-hmm. But you're also going to see, massacres.
Yes, absolutely. It's
and
one
I don't
of those.
know if that's good for brand new people to see fish get destroyed. Just saying.
Sean Double OTD, that is a valid point. Sean says, no, multis would be fine. It's an African cichlid. Yeah, I'm not referencing the Neolamprologus multifasciatus. I'm talking about, when I say African cichlids, the general big, pretty, blues and yellows and reds, and which not specifically every single fish that is an African cichlid, but that's a very valid point.
The Mabunas.
Everybody go set up a shell dweller tank. Go get yourself some multis.
Yeah, this shell dwellers, they're awesome. Yeah, that might be a super fun one for a beginner.
Absolutely.
But you know what? They can be fierce too. Ginger Graves has a video where she had 2 different harems going on in her tank, and one of the boys destroyed the other boy. So it can happen.
All right. Well, it is 9 o'clock. I want to say a huge thank you again to Aquatic Marine through that $50 super chat. Kenny, thank you, buddy. I appreciate everything you do for myself and the community. Sean Chadwick, Furloughs Aquatics, Mr. Fish Sir, Mike's Aquatics and Things. I hate stupid people. Thank you all for the super chats and stickers. All of you awesome members. I can't say thank you enough to you guys. The moderator team, you all do an amazing job, and I always greatly, greatly appreciate it. The lurkers, the listeners, the thumbs uppers and downers, the question askers, commentators, and the replay crew. I love you guys. I'm going to turn it over to Ed for his catchphrase tonight.
Yep, guys, don't be afraid to get your hands wet. Keep those tanks clean. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Link in the chat for Jeff Rose. Head on over there. Hashtag. I forgot.
Easy
hashtag.
fish.
I don't know.
Fish.
Hashtag fish. There you go. Hashtag fish. There you go. Should have thought of that before. Go check out Jeff.
Fish fever. We went fish.
Go say hi to Jeff Rose. I'm going to head over there now. Until next time, keep your fish healthy. Keep yourselves healthy. I love you guys. Don't forget to catch yourself a little fish room fever.